welcome to the Dwarven Tavern. I am your host Lyric, and today we are doing a beginner's video. It's been a while, hasn't it? You may be wondering why I'm dressed in such a fanciful way. Well, I just came back from a Dwarven holiday celebration, so I forgot to bring a change of clothes, so here I am. And actually, that's what brings me to the topic of today. We're going to be talking about celebrations in game. And the reason that this is a beginner's video is that there are other ways to start a game. And the reason that that is that a lot of new players want to start, and a lot of new DMs want to start with dungeon crawls. And that's really the easiest way to play any, fantasy medieval RPGs. Just start with a dungeon crawl. It's classic, it's very hard to mess up, and it can get players into the game with a lot of interesting stories. I'm here to tell you that rituals and celebrations and festivals can also be a great start to your game, or at the very least contribute great plot points that you can build your characters into a story that may take a while to develop. Depending on how long the festival is, that could be the first major arc of the game. So let's just take an example. We can use, real world celebrations. Maybe your characters are celebrating or come upon a town that is celebrating what is known as Christmas, or Yule, or what other name you want to, like Saturnalia, or any other name you want to use for that particular festival. It is a celebration of the end of winter. It is a celebration of a particular god being born into the world and bringing light with them. And it causes a lot of reason to celebrate, and a lot of those celebrations can turn really wine drunk. So your characters could get involved with those, and maybe there's something going on at that festival that your character can get involved with. For example, your character could use that as a rite of passage, because there's a lot of imagery with new beginnings that is surrounding the end of the year, because the end of the year begins a new year. So where there is death, there is also new life. And that could be a rite of passage that your character gets involved with, especially like the characters that have longer lifespans, like an elf or a tiefling or something. When you include a festival into your game, you can look to real-world celebrations to inspire you in this exact manner. Saturnalia, or Yule, or Christmas, and Samhain, or Halloween, and Litha, or Midsummer, the middle of the hottest day of the year, the summer solstice, or celebrations like Ostara, the beginning of spring. Like, all of these festivals are real world, and they have a lot of history and a lot of lore behind them. Not just the commercialized type of holiday that we celebrate now, where, like for Valentine's Day, we exchange goods as a form of celebration. There are other ways that you can celebrate these holidays and bring them into your game to show your characters that bit of creativity, that bit of worldly influence. Hello. So when you have a game and you want to include a festival, you can look to real-world influence, or you can look to influence of other gamers. I am sure I am not the only one who has thought of using festivals as a way to get your game going. So I'm sure using the fictitious gods that are in D&D or Pathfinder or what other RPG you're playing, there are, I guarantee you, resources out there that have other players and DMs creating histories of gods that exist only in these games. For example, Shelyn, or Shelene, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce her name, the Pathfinder goddess of love, she probably has a very similar holiday to Valentine's Day. So a follower of Shelene, I'm gonna call her Shelene, the goddess of Shelene may have a festival of love where they exchange vows of affection toward one another, and that may be a plot twist because one of your characters might like another character. Or maybe they stumble across a town where there is a lot of corrupt love, and they have to kind of be the peacekeepers and help the NPCs that are feeling a little distraught because of it. They may gain NPC followers because their heart is broken on the celebration of Shelene, and like that is the purest form of rejection. Like, who knows? There's a lot of fun that you could have with this, especially with made-up holidays. And going off of that same train of thought, you could take the inspiration of whatever god that you're following and put it to good use by creating your own holiday. Another goddess that you could use in order to create a celebration would be the goddess Eldoth, who is known as the Green Goddess. She has the domain of nature and over small bodies of waters like pools and ponds and creeks and the like. So your character may be a solitary of Eldoth and uses her to celebrate the coming of spring or summer, and she has to stop and celebrate those rites. So it adds a little more depth to your character, and it creates a little more story for your characters to get involved with. And on top of that, if you have rites of passage that your character goes through, for example, if you're a Dwarven princess and you come across a Dwarven citadel and you have been banished from your city and you can only gain your honor back by capturing the avatar. No, but maybe you're a Dwarven princess that has gone into voluntary exile because your sister got the throne ahead of you, and you feel like you don't belong in your kingdom, so you chose exile and became an adventurer to find out what your path is. So you come across another Dwarven citadel and their chain of command is completely broken because of their most recent battles with fill in the blank here. And you come across and you show a valiant effort of reclaiming the kingdom, and all of the dwarves there acknowledge your efforts and they decide to make you their new queen. And of course, you know, it's up to you if you want to keep playing as an adventurer or if you take on the game as the queen of the dwarves, which would be really cool. But that is an example of going through a rite of passage that could mean something to your character. If you were an adventurer setting off to find where you belong and you stumble across this kingdom that you play for sessions and sessions and sessions over trying to recapture, and finally the fill in the blank here's give up and they let you reclaim the kingdom and you've wiped them all out and the remaining dwarves are like, hail lyric queen, that could set your characters off on an emotional roller coaster. And that could be a lot of fun. It could add a lot of juice to your game. So how do you create these festivals? A lot of it can be drawn from real world experience. What have you experienced on Christmas? What have you experienced on your coming of age party, like your 18th birthday? Or maybe you have a quinceañera. Probably pronouncing that wrong, I don't mean to offend anybody, but that's a coming of age celebration, or your bar mitzvah. These are things that you do to celebrate your rite of passage. And in doing so, you can pull from those real life experiences and bring them into game for your character to experience. Maybe look up different religions and different holidays that are celebrated all around the world. Paganism is a great source of mythological and medieval driven holidays that feel a little more fanciful for your games. And in those holidays you can create a lot of realism that will keep you from breaking that fourth wall and making the holidays feel a little contrived. You could also look to other gamers and, like I said before, gather inspiration on holidays that are maybe already created. I'm not quite sure about 5th edition. I haven't looked that deep into it, but there may already be holidays created that you can put in your game. But if you want to create your own, you can look to others, you can look to real life holidays, or you can just come up with something off the top of your head. For example, if I'm the Dwarven Queen, I want to create a holiday that represents the love of the familiar, and I call it Familiar Day, and it is the day where we celebrate all of the animal companions and the familiars and the pets thereof in the kingdom. And your travelers come in and they come in on Familiar Day and there's all these wild animals running about, and I don't know, one of your characters could be highly allergic to something there. And you know, just let your imagination run wild and have a lot of fun with it, because that's what celebrations are. They're supposed to be fun. Or, you know, you could have a celebration of wine. Maybe you have a god like Dionysus or Pan, or the Green Man, who just, they're a lush and all they want to do is drink. And so one of the celebrations is you spend an entire week being drunk, and your characters have to pull a hangover and figure out what they did the entire last week because they really do not remember. So taking all that information and bundling it up into a nice useful ball of knowledge, storing it away until your next gaming session, you can create festivals and celebrations, even feasts that your characters are invited to create a lot more depth for your characters and the game itself. It creates a lot of atmosphere that your characters can breathe in and enjoy. So with that said, I hope you can take something useful from this talk. Creating can be a little difficult, so of course, look to your friends, look to your families, comment below. We would love to help out. And I hope you have a lot of fun celebrating whatever it is you celebrate. And on that note, I am Lyric with the Dwarven Tavern, your resident Dwarven princess, wishing for you to want for nothing but adventure, and at first I feared it that I charged. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.